Good afternoon, everyone. Glad you could join us. I'm Dan Cook, Director of Business Development here at Nadex, and today we're going to be going through a platform overview. So real simple agenda today. We're going to be spending most of the time actually in the platform walking through things like finding contracts, executing trades, managing positions, how you can close out those trades. We're scheduled for about 30 minutes, but I will stick around to answer questions. I know we have a lot of newer people to Nadex on this particular webinar, which you'd expect for a platform walkthrough. And a lot of that is driven by our Nadex demo trading competition. I'll provide more details on that in just a little bit, but very exciting. It'll be kicking off next week. Before we begin, quick risk disclosure. You should understand that trading on Nadex, or really any market where you're putting live money, involves risk. And it's not appropriate for everyone at every stage in their life. You always want to make sure that you're using risk capital. Anything earmarked for rent or groceries or other livelihood is not a good plan. You need to make sure that that's risk capital. There's a lot of emotion in trading. So always make sure that whatever you're putting up in the market, that's money that will not hurt you if you do lose it. Nadex is all about self-directed trading. So really want you to understand that the decisions you make, which is the exciting part, are yours. We get to grow and be accountable for all of our decisions, right? We all make decisions that sometimes we look back on and maybe they weren't the best, but we have to be accountable. Want you to understand, we're going to be looking at the platform today, and I'm going to be executing trades in a demo environment. If you do have a live account, don't follow along, right? I'm not trying to recommend any trades or buy or sell anything. So this is purely for example purposes. All right, so with that, let's get going here. And real quick, just want to talk about the Nadex Demo Trading Challenge. It is a one-week trading contest in our demo or simulated environment. It's going to be kicking off next Sunday evening on November 15th, and it'll run through November 20th, the Friday close. So we are going to be giving prizes for the top 3 participants based on P&L, and it's free to join. So registration is open until November 12th. However, I do recommend that you register as soon as possible. And in just a little bit, I'll put a link in the chat so that you can see where to register. This contest is open to everyone. However, to qualify for the grand prizes, you must be a U.S. resident, excluding Rhode Island. And apologies to anyone on the call from Rhode Island, but we do have to follow state-by-state guidelines for competitions such as these, particularly as it relates to prize awards. You have to be 18 years of age or older. You also need to place a minimum of 25 trades over the course of the week. They don't have to be split up over days. You could do them all in one day. The reason for this is we really want to keep it as a competition, not a game of luck, right? If somebody places 3 trades in a row, they could double, 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 but that's not a good premise for trading. We want this to be an educational experience, really give people a good feel for trading, risk management, and we really want the best of the best to rise to the top. So that's the reason for the minimum of 25 trades. Please view our full terms and conditions, and we'll hop over to the registration page where you can get all the details. And again, I'll put that in the chat box as well. So with that, let's get going, and we'll hop over to those registration pages. I just put the link in the chat, and we'll hop over to the platform and get started. And we'll hop into the platform, but real quick before we do, I'm going to take you to the page where you can register for the contest if you're interested. So I'm going to post this link in the chat message so that you can all have that. And so very easy to sign up. Just takes a matter of a couple seconds. I'm Dan Cook with Nadex. Once you register, you'll be taken to a thank you page. So very quick registration. It's just first and last name and email address. Of course, I'm on the webinar, so the form's going to act a little slow. So if you already have a Nadex demo account, all of the demo accounts have been extended the expiration to November 30th. So if you already have a Nadex demo account associated with that email, you're good to go. You don't need to do anything else. If you don't have a demo account, you can open one in basically 30 seconds by clicking Open Demo Account. You'll be taken to this handy form, and it'll basically just ask you for some basic information as far as what you need to get started on your demo account. All balances will be reset to $10,000 after the close of the market this Friday. And so that puts everybody on a fair level playing field for the contest to get started. So I've mentioned that because if you're new to Nadex, if this is the first time you don't have a demo account yet, you can get in there and start placing trades. You can follow along. If you have your contest account, you can go ahead and follow along with this today. Start working those out. Place trades. Make money, lose money, it doesn't matter. You can start getting experience and feel for the platform, and we're going to reset that balance. So you don't have to sit on the sidelines this week either. We'll make sure that everybody gets started off on the same foot next week. Yes, this will be recorded, so a link should be sent out later today. It takes a little while for the video to render and get posted and all of that stuff, but yeah, we should have a link out later today. All right. So when you log in to the Nadex platform, this is my demo account. This is what you'll see. Right? So we're going to walk step by step. How do you find markets? As I mentioned, later this week or throughout the course of this week, I'm going to be doing additional webinars to really dig into binary options, knockouts, and call spreads, the 3 contract types offered at Nadex. They're all unique. They're a little bit different. But also pretty straightforward and fairly easy to understand. So let's get started here. Real quick, one thing you'll see is this updates button. So for instance, this week we've had some large market moves, volatility expected. When you have a new update, you'll see a circle with a number in it. That'll tell you how many updates it'll flash at you. So for example, with volatility, we want everybody to understand, well, what's a trading halt? What is a limit move? For example, yesterday we had a limit up move in the morning. The futures markets had moved 7%. So trading stopped. They can't trade beyond that level. The market's not closed or halted, but when it hits limit up at that 7% in the overnight hours, it can only trade down from there. It can't go past that range. And then as the day moves on, you have various ranges depending on if it's upside or downside. So always pay attention to those updates. If for some reason you look at a market and we've had a lot of volatility, you can always click on our status page, which will also give you that notice if a market has hit limit up or down. All right, so the market classes on Nadex. We have indices, so the top 4 U.S. indices, Wall Street 30, and I'll click on these. We're going to focus on the binary options today. So we have the Wall Street 30, which is based on the Dow, the small cap, which is based on the Russell's future, US 500, E-mini S&P, and the US Tech 100, which is the NASDAQ future. We also have international indices, Japan 225, Germany 30, FTSE 100, and China 50. Forex, 11 different Forex pairs, and what you'll see, and we'll talk a little bit about durations, particularly as we get into the specific contract types. Binary options can range from 5 minutes to 2 hours to daily to weekly contracts. So depending on the type of trader you are, if you're looking for a very short term, you could look at, say an intraday, what we call maybe a 20-minute binary or a 2-hour binary. If you're looking at more of a longer term type move, you might want to trade the weekly. We also have event contracts. There's one open this week, which is jobless claims, and this is basically predicting what you think the number of jobless claims will be for this week. And commodities. Commodities include crude oil, gold, natural gas, and silver. So as you can see, they're some of the biggest, most liquid markets, the most popular markets that you can trade. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One is really just interest, right? Probably a lot of people have seen what gold has been doing lately. Crude oil is always in the news. So let me answer this. The demo account is similar to the live account. It is basically the same guts. The biggest difference that you'll see, because we are an exchange, so Nadex doesn't make any prices. That is up to all of our members. We also have designated market makers who provide quotes. So they're basically there to stock the shelves like you would see at a store, right? Because it'd be pretty boring if you came to trade at Nadex and then there wasn't anything to take. And I'll show you how that looks in the platform. So we do have designated market makers. Now I will say, and particularly in moments where we have a lot of volatility, pricing will diverge between demo and the live account. The reason for that, market makers have a lot of risk on the line. They might be quoting 18,000 contracts at any given time. So if the markets are really moving, it just makes sense where their concentration and focus is going to be, right? It's going to be on the real risk, but they're still making prices in the demo account. All of the functionality is exactly the same. So when you're placing a trade, all of that is the same as the live account. One thing, if you do have questions, if you say, oh, I wonder how this compares, because oftentimes in the live account, the bid-offer spread is a bit tighter. Now, pricing may be a bit different, though, because a lot of it deals with volatility, so depending on how that's updated. But you can take a look at a live account simply by opening one up. You don't have to fund it, and you can check that pricing, and I recommend everybody do that. A lot of times people will open up their demo account, then open up their live account, and then when they're ready, it's sitting there, it's open, they decide to fund, great. If not, no worries either. So let's bring up some charts, and I'll get a bit more into the market making aspect. I'm going to go to currencies here, and again, this is just for example. We're going to look at some daily currencies. What you see here, and again, we'll cover binary options and more, is a list of strike prices. A strike price is basically a level on a chart, right? So in the case of a binary option, let me clear this up. Here we have, this is a 15-minute chart. On the right-hand side, you're going to see these various strike prices, and you can execute directly from them. You can open up the order ticket. And as you can see, if you're in the demo account, you'll get this little pop-up that says trading competition. That'll actually should only actually pop up once. But if you need to sign up, if you're in your demo account, quick, easy sign up button right there. And Zanette, to answer your question, yeah, certainly. If you contact us, we can set that back for you. All right, so we have on the chart. Right? So if I wanted to just execute a trade, if I wasn't doing any technicals, maybe I think there's a news announcement coming out. On the right-hand side of my chart, once I select a strike price over here, and again, they're lined up on the right-hand side of the chart, I can simply click to buy or to sell. In the case of a binary option, it's going to shade, in this case, the area that I need this to close under in order to reach maximum profitability. Or if I buy, it's going to shade above that. A couple of, well, one big mistake that I see on Nadex, and this actually goes back to demo account being similar to live account. Nadex is an exchange, and if you remember when I said we rely on all of our members to make the markets, unlike a lot of other platforms, you'll see this sell price and this buy price, so-called a bid and an offer. If you don't want to, if you want to work a better price, you don't have to take what's there. If you want to buy and say you want to buy at $58, I'm just going to place that. Right? Order received. I have a working order here. There's no guarantee that it's going to be a fill. Right? You're trying to work a better price than what anybody at the market is going to now, but I want to show you something cool. If you notice, we put in 58, and I'm going to show market depth. Here we see the market makers. Right now, I'm trying to buy at a better price, but I'm also giving someone who wants to sell a better price as well. Because I put that 58 in there, I'm at what's called the top of the book. So somebody has to fill mine before they can fill anything else. It helps out all traders. And that's one thing that I've seen actually for years is not enough people actually working orders trying to get a better price or more advantageous price in the market. Particularly when you're trading the more liquid contracts, things like the US 500, the NASDAQ, any of the major US indices, you're going to have a lot more participation. You're going to be giving them a better price. You, in turn, are also getting a better price, so it's a win-win for everybody. I'm going to go ahead and just cancel this working order, and I'll walk into these order placement in more detail as we move along. From a chart perspective, okay, Up along the top, if you want to set the time frame, simply here I have it set to 15 minutes. If I want to change it to 5 minutes, if I want to go out longer to 2 hours, all the way down to a tick. So this is where I'll set my time frame. These bars here are the indicators that are available. So if I want to add an RSI to the chart, simply go to my indicators, I click RSI, and we can see it's automatically applied to the chart at the time frame. If I click on this box here, this is where I can go to adjust my settings. The default for the RSI is 14 periods, meaning there's 14 periods of 15-minute candles, and I'm looking at overbought, oversold levels. I'll go in here. Bollinger Bands are another popular one. Simply click on it, and it applies them. Also, if you're not familiar, maybe you've read a little bit about that. If you notice next to each one, there's a little information button. All you do is put your mouse over that, and you can learn all about this indicator. It can be very helpful, particularly if you're new to technical analysis, to at least get a really good idea of what this particular indicator does. So for instance, RSI is relative strength index. Drawing tools. So if I want to do, let's say I want to do a Fibonacci retracement, simply click and drag, and I can bring up my Fibonacci. If I'm looking at, say, trend lines or point-to-points, maybe I want to see the measure of a move. I can do point-to-points, trend lines. For instance, I'll just hit one here. And again, I'm not doing a lot of analysis. I'm just doing some basics to show you the tools. So all of the drawing tools can be found under here. If you're new to the platform, I definitely recommend that you spend a little bit of time yourself. As my dad used to tell me, somebody else can show you what to do, but until you do it yourself, it's not really going to sink in. And so you want to make sure that you're familiar with the tools, whatever you use. There is not a hotkey for time and sales. We do have that information on our website. Now, one of the reasons time and sales are good. I mean, you can get additional information about the market. But one of the things that I'm often asked also about volume on Nadex. And one of the reasons why a lot of people will use time and sales, particularly in underlying markets, for analysis, right? If you see a big order come in, or if you're seeing volume, if you're seeing a lot of volume, Nadex is a derivative market. And so you wouldn't necessarily be able to glean a lot by time and sales because at the end, at the expiration, nothing that happens on Nadex is going to impact that expiration. It is purely dependent on the underlying market. So I do know quite a few people that, particularly if they've been trading futures, they'll look at the volume on the futures market. Now, one thing to keep in mind also with Nadex is while it can appear to be a different market, our contracts are a bit unique, the same principles apply, right? So if you think the market's going to go up, whether you're trading a binary option, a call spread, or a knockout, if you think the market's going to go up, you want to be a buyer. If you think the market's going to go down, you want to be a seller. And so all of your analysis too, if you've been trading for a while but you're new to Nadex, your analysis is going to remain the same, right? If you've been trading for a few years or 10 years or 20 years and you're very comfortable with how you analyze markets to get direction and market timing, you're going to use the same principle. You're just going to be executing it a little bit different way. And again, throughout the week, I'll get into more of these contracts. So yes, there will be a replay of this. And I'll clarify. I'm not sure which part to repeat. I just had a question to repeat that. I think it was about the volume as well as the time and sales. Yeah, so if I'm looking at, say, something like an oil contract, right? It's going to be the volume. So if I'm typically trading futures and I'm looking at a volume analysis to see market direction, I'm going to continue to do that in the underlying oil market. So in this case, the CL contract on the CME. And that's going to give me the indication of how I should trade my Nadex contract. All right. One quick handy button here is this. It looks like an eyeball. It's the show. So if you want to see high-low open-close data, right, that's that little flag that goes for all of the things there. If sometimes that bothers people, you just uncheck it. It'll go away. One of the cool things I think about this is a lot of times, if I'm just looking at price action, I usually keep my charts pretty clean. But if I have some indicators, or particularly if I have a bunch of drawings on the chart, I can simply uncheck. Let's say I want to get rid of my indicators. Simply uncheck the indicators. Now I have a clear view of what my price action was. If I want to bring them back, I don't have to reapply everything. All I have to do is check that box. All right. Chart types: candlestick, Ikenashi, line, high-low, open, close, mountain. You can save your layouts. So you know what, Tony? I'll answer that question in just a moment because I'm going to go into the order ticket in a bit more depth as we look at executing trades. So I can go in and I can save this layout and just do a save as, and I'll give it a name like test. And then if I just wanted to apply that, right, I can apply my test. You can see I've done quite a few of these. And I can set up multiple if I have multiple strategies for volatile markets or maybe slower moving markets. If I want to zoom in, I can simply use these buttons up here. I can also scroll on the left-hand side and I can move my chart left and right. So very easy. Going to get into, let's place a couple of orders because I want to show you that functionality, and I'll also talk through Tony's questions. So I'm going to go ahead and place a couple of trades here. So there are two different order types at Nadex. There's a limit order and a market with protection. Market with protection is basically a market order, but it's got a little bit of enhanced safety features to it, I'll call, in that in a really fast market, what will happen in a traditional market, I've traded futures for a long time, in a really fast market, if you hit a market order, you might think you're getting in at one price, but you might get filled way off that. Particularly binary options by their very nature can move very quickly towards expiration. And so what we want to do is make sure that there was at least a level of protection in there. And so a market with protection defaults to 10 ticks of protection, or $10 worth of protection. So basically, if I got into this, if I wanted to buy at $62, I could hit that. The worst I can get filled is 72. A limit order is going to be this price or better. I can't get filled worse than that. So the question that was just asked is, how many contracts can you trade at one time? Well, you can enter. I think you can actually enter up to 10,000. I think that's the maximum currently set. It's a matter more of how many you can get filled. So for example, if I place this trade, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to select, I'm going to click 6175, and I'm going to place 125 contracts. Whoops. 125 contracts. Right here on my buy price, there are 100 contracts available. So I'm going to place my order. And now I have an open position. So I was actually filled on all 125. Picked it back up. So there is a limit. I mean, you can put in, I mean, even in the live market, there are people that are putting in like 1,000 lot orders. Most people aren't doing that, right? However, if you look at that, what's called the depth of market, that'll give you a really good indication of what that's going to be. Now, I'm going to jump a little bit ahead because I think on a couple of these things, and I'm going to place a couple more orders here. I'm just going to place order. Okay, so I've got a couple of contracts on. Now, I mentioned earlier that one of the biggest mistakes I see at Nadex, and actually I've seen really throughout my trading career when it was in Forex and futures, I've been around about 20 years, even in stocks, is that people don't want to take their profit, right? These contracts automatically mitigate your risk, but it's very important to understand, particularly in binary options, which are known as an all or nothing contract, So I'm going to say this one here. You can see that open position where I bought Euro USD at 1840. If I want to close this position, right, all I'm going to do, and I'm going to go back up here, all I'm going to do is click on this. It's going to open my order ticket in the opposite direction. I'm going to click place order. All right. So now I'm actually working an order because while I was talking, I kind of missed the market move. If I wanted to go back, I can adjust this order, and I can say, okay, you know what, I'm gonna get it down closer to the market. I'm going to amend the order, oh, and then it got filled automatically. Question is, do you want to execute right above the price or right on the price to profit? I'm not sure if I follow that question 100%. From an execution standpoint, and this varies. This is really up to each trader. From an execution standpoint, if you're working an order, so meaning, and I'll go through that one more time. So let's say I wanted to buy this one. I might look at this and say, hey, the price is 22 3/4 by 28.75. I'm going to try to work a 27. I'm going to try to save myself a couple of ticks there, or a couple of points. At that point, it'll be working. So I mean, that's almost trade by trade, and on a trade by trade basis. Now, if you're trading something short term, like a 5-minute contract, and I'm going to go in depth in these tomorrow when I talk about binary options. They move very fast. And so in that case, a lot of people are using the market order with protection, which automatically will help you, it'll give you some points of variance to try to get your fill in because they're moving pretty fast. So let's go to our open positions window. And I'm just going to click again. So if I have an open position, and one of the biggest mistakes I see on Nadex is because they're considered all or nothing on binary options, and actually all of our contracts really are, is not closing them out. So keep this in mind. If the position is running in your favor, you can close out for profit. If it's running against you, you can also close out to limit your losses. You don't have to wait for it to go to 0 or 100. So I'm going to click on this Euro USD, and I put on 125 contracts here. I'm going to go ahead and set a limit order. I bought it. It's the average price of 61.35. I'm going to put in a partial order for 50. And I'm going to say if the market hits 80, right? So we'll call it, you know what, I'll put in $82. $82 is, oops, my typing is a bit off there. $82 is where I want to hit. So I'm going to take off 50 contracts if it hits $82. I've got this working order. So what that means is if the market goes up, if the sell price hits 82, right, that's $20 on $60 risk. That's 33%. Is it the full $100 payout? No. But let's say I bought a binary at $25. I could also set limit orders at 50. At 70, wherever I think it's going to go. Typically, I would look at different price levels and say, okay, well, I think it's going to go to here. So if it goes to X point, I think it's got to be somewhere around 50. I would assess my limit orders. So in this case, the market's kind of gone against me a little bit. I'm down about $1,000. Now, remember, I traded 125 contracts, so I'm not down that much. I'm down just about $9 per contract. And if I want to see my total runnings, my profit and loss on the positions, that'll be on the right-hand side here. If I just want to close out everything, let's say it's gone, particularly if the market's really moving fast. Maybe I was in a short position yesterday where I was selling a contract, and all of a sudden the market's screaming against me. I might just say, I want to get rid of all 125 and place a market order and get out where I can, right? So by that market order, I just closed out everything. One thing to keep in mind, once I do that, I want to go in, since I have no positions available, I want to go in and I want to delete my orders. So if you see that your open positions is blank, but on your orders window you have any number that's 1 or greater, unless you're working an order to enter, right? If you thought this was going to be associated, you'll want to go in and just simply click delete order. A couple of quick things, because I know we're running out of time here. And again, I'm going to be doing a few of these throughout the week. I'm happy to answer a lot more questions as well. On your account tab, right? So you can access your history, your statement. Of course, it's going to be a little bit slow going through the webinar platform. I'm sharing a lot of bandwidth right now. Oh, that's a great question. Great question, Stephen. No, so Nadex is not under the pattern day trader rule. For those of you that are familiar with this, and I do know a lot of people that have been hit by this this year, on the equity side, and without digging too deep into it, there are these rules that basically say if you don't have a $25,000 account, you can only place X number of trades per week. I believe the number is still 5. That's the pattern day trader rule. Nadex is not subject to pattern day trader rule. You can get in and trade as often as you want, as long as you have collateral to support those trades. Now, that is not a case for overtrading. Let me make that statement very clear. But when you see opportunity, you don't have to wait. You don't have to count your number of trades. We have people that will execute 80, 100, 200 trades in a day, some very active traders that don't have $25,000 in their account, right? One of the whole premises on Nadex is it's built for the individual trader. You don't need a huge account balance to be super active in the markets. Account overview, and you can also just log out of the platform from here. By the way, if you're new to Nadex, we have this feedback button. So if there's things you'd like to see on the platform, I'd love to hear from you. We take it very seriously. Actually, everything on this platform is a result of our members' feedback and them helping craft their experience. We already have a list of things that are in development to continue to improve this platform, but we want to hear from you. We obviously, everything has to go through development and it takes time, but the things that are most requested are the things that we're going to definitely put to the top and make sure, that we can do our best to get those in. But we don't know what those are until you can, until you tell us what they are. A great question about hedging your trade. So technically, you can't execute on the same strike. It will cancel itself out. And I'll talk a bit about more in the binary options. However, there are some ways to do it, and I'm going to talk when I get into the contract specifically. They'll all be recorded, so if you can't join us tomorrow, but if I wanted to say do something that's a direction neutral trade, right? Because one of the things, and I don't know if the term hedging is right, although I understand what you mean, right? Because I grew up working on a farm, and I understand like agricultural hedges probably as well as anybody. But that's all about fixing your cost. But if you're looking for something like a volatility type play, but you don't know which direction the market's going to head, one thing you can do, so I'm just going to say, okay, I'm going to place this trade here. I'm going to sell at 86.50 one contract. On a binary option, that means I put up $13.50 risk plus $1 exchange fee. I place my order. Now I'm going to go down here and I'm going to buy what we call an out of the money. I'm going to place one contract. I'm putting up $12. What I've done now basically is I've done what's called a strangle. So no matter which direction, and let me see as you can expand these charts. So whichever direction this heads, if it goes up here, if it goes down here and settles, I've taken a direction neutral trade. Real quick while we're on that, if you want to learn more about that strategy, if you're already familiar with binary options, in a second after I answer questions, I'm going to make a note to hop to our education section on the website, because that'll be very helpful, particularly if you're looking at strategies. Again, next week we're going to have some great strategy sessions, but those will also be helpful. Okay, so yeah, if you have a friend that can't make them, you're going to receive a link to these. You're going to have a link to these webinars. Hopefully, it'll be out just in a few hours once we wrap this up. And you can share that link with your friends, family. Geez, share it with your enemies if you like. Really share it with anybody. But it'll be available on our website, as well as you'll receive a link to the recording of this, as well as you're going to receive, since you registered for this one, everybody here is going to receive a link to all of them that I do this week. So don't worry about missing it. If you missed the beginning here, we'll have you taken care of for sure. Oh, here's a great question. Thank you, Tony. For opening up a live account, the minimum deposit is $250. The reason that is, I mean, that is pretty low. You couldn't actually trade futures with that deposit, but because of the Nadex offers some contracts that are much smaller. You can trade the most popular markets without nearly as much capital as what you would to trade. I mean, if you wanted to trade oil in the futures market, you better have, you know, I mean, I don't think you could do it for $10,000. You could certainly get into a trade, but at $1,000 a point, you probably wouldn't last too long unless you got really lucky right away. But with Nadex, it's a minimum of $250. The account opening process typically takes about 5 minutes. And again, as I mentioned before, take time in the demo. Work with that, and make sure you understand the platform and the contracts. And on that note, I'm going to go over here, and if you go to nadex.com, and it's going to be a little bit slow as we're running through, underneath the Learning Center, right, webinars. So here are all of our upcoming webinars, right? These don't include the 3 next week that are exclusive only to the people participating in the Nadex Demo Trading Challenge. If you are participating in that, you'll get a link for that. We've got a great one coming up with Guy Adami. If you know him from Fast Money on CNBC, great guy, very experienced trader, and Dan Nathan. They're going to be talking about key issues. All of these are free to register for it. They all get recorded. So if you can't make them, you can always watch them later. If you want to go back, and if you're newer to Nadex, you can go back and just click on the archive. And if you want to learn trading strategies, we've got a ton of trading strategies, right? If you go back a ways, I'll show you one of mine from previously. I believe I was put underneath the Nadex category. Here's a strategy for knockouts, technical analysis, basics of these, Nadex platform walkthrough. All of these are free, so I definitely encourage you to take advantage of that, and also let us know. Whenever you register for a webinar, you should get a thing that says give us feedback. Again, if there's different educational content that we're doing that you'd like to see. I know that one that I'm really excited about that we have in the works is on just building a trading plan. And so I know that's one that we're looking for. I'm not sure the question on the importance of the previous day type. If you could clarify that, I'd be happy to answer. So yeah, Stephen. So yeah, question about the 25 minimum in the contest. And yeah, I absolutely agree with it. Right, the market can get hard to trade. That's one of the reasons why we want to do that. It should be a competition, and it shouldn't be something where somebody. I mean, people can get lucky 3 or 4 times in a row, right? And what I don't want to see is somebody come in, basically throw out all discipline. Place a trade, double their account, place another trade, double it again, place another trade, double it again, and then win the contest, right? Because that's just a matter of luck, and I don't want to reward. I've been around the markets a long time, and one of the things I've seen that's actually worse for people is when they get lucky and they think that that luck will translate into actual long-term profitability. So I want people in there trading 25 times. It's not a big number. to do, but it also helps sort that out because it is a competition. It's about hopefully exercising discipline, working the markets. It probably will have a decent mix, what I've seen from individual traders over the years, and myself included. You're going to have a good mix of wins and losses. How do you manage your losses? How do you manage the profitable trades in this demo account, right? It's very, very important from my perspective, and that's why we set that at 25 trades. Oh yeah, definitely, Letitia. In looking at like previous day or days, particularly depending on the time frame you're trading, right? If you've got a market that's in a range, we're going to talk a little bit about range-bound trading tomorrow in the binary options section. But if you've got a market that's in a range, are you looking for it to stay in that range, right? So maybe if it's getting to the upper boundary of that and you start seeing the candlesticks indicating that momentum is dying and you've got an indicator that's shifting, showing that the market could push down, that's a pretty good technical analysis. There's actually an old saying, if I've made a mistake in the markets, it's because I haven't looked far enough left. And what that means is you want to understand where price has been. Did it just break out from a previous high? Right? Sometimes if it breaks out from a previous high, it can really run. That could be an opportunity. Sometimes it gets right to a previous high, and all of a sudden you start to see the candles really slow down and momentum start to shift. And they might say, you know what, this is going to be what's called a double top pattern, or if it's on the other side, a double bottom pattern. And so, yeah, I definitely encourage looking at key levels that have been hit previously. And I'll just hop back into the platform real quick. And again, this is just for educational purposes. I'm just going to go out here to a 1 hour chart, right? So this was over the weekend. So this week so far, we did get a spike up here. This was right on the news, but if I wanted to go in and draw a horizontal line, right? If we look right across the tops of those candles, now again, we did get a spike up. If I remember correctly, that was fairly short-lived. But what we can do is come down here and say, okay, wow, we had, these two that stopped right there. We could look back and wow, lo and behold, right? One of the key premises of support and resistance, right? What used to be resistance can now be support. Not dead on, but pretty close. This candle right here where it hit the top and then it broke through, came back. I usually look at these as like zones, right? So if we knew that ahead of time, and it's no guarantee, right, that it's going to work out in our favor, but we can assess that. This gives me a level where if I placed a buy order here and all of a sudden I get a break below this level, it could be a head fake, it could be a fake, but if I get a break below this level, that might tell me, hey, I was wrong, it's time to get out. We want to have a plan on every trade. Oh yeah, and certainly we've got a request to walk through one more time. I'm going to show you how to open up a position, how to set a limit order, delete a limit order, and then close a position. That sounds good to everybody? Very happy to hear that. By the way, thank you for these questions and this enthusiasm. I love this. I've been, like I mentioned, I've been in the markets for over 20 years, and I love the education aspect, and I love working with traders of all types. From the very newest to the people, I've got some great friends that have been trading 30, 40 years. So let's hop in and, oh, Jacqueline, I'm first of all, I'm glad you've got a trading plan all set to make. Glad you're excited about the trading contest. Yeah, and Letitia, on managing that risk, that's exactly it, right? If I see the market drop below this, I might say, hey, it's time for me to get out of that trade. A mentor of mine back in 2005 told me a lot of great things, but the one thing that he told, a couple of things that he told me that always stuck with me, was that the only difference between him, and he'd been trading 30 years at that time, he had been a fund manager, he traded his own personal account worth millions. The guy knew what he was doing, but he said, and he was sincere when he said this, the only difference between him and a newer trader was that he got out of his losing trades faster. Amos Hofstadter said it also, take care of your losses and the rewards take care of themselves. So I'm going to go in, let's place an order here. I'm going to go in and let's just buy this. So I'm going to place a 5-lot order. I'm going to place this order. All right, my order is received. I might have missed that one. Okay, so I've got my open position. So I just bought this one at $28.75. So if I want to set a limit order against this position, right, I placed a 5-lot. I'm just going to click on this open position. So let's say if the market goes to 50, right, that's effectively, I mean, that's almost a 90% return, even when you include the exchange fees. So I'm going to put a price of 50, and I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to take 3 contracts off there. Place my order. So now, if I come in here and I say, okay, now if my 5 contracts, if they go up, and they start really running up higher, I'm going to close out. I'm going to lock in profit. And then we'll see what the other 2 do. Maybe the other 2 go to 100. Maybe I hit my maximum return. And so, you can work it a different ways. Maybe, I can actually go in here and I can say, okay, I'm going to go back to my position and I'm going to say, you know what, I don't want to get greedy. If I want to take the other 2 off, I'm going to go at 75 and take another 2. All right. So now I've got, if you look at my middle position there, I've got 5 contracts long. I go back and I look at these orders and I say, okay, I'm looking to take profit at 3 contracts at 50 and then 2 contracts at 75. Right? The market really runs up. I don't even have to be sitting in front of my computer. My contracts are going to get locked in if those trades get filled. Right? Let's say, okay, we got into this trade, but things aren't going so well. So we want to just get out of everything. So positions. Okay. Let's say that everything's going against me. I'm just going to go out. I'm going to click on this. It's going to open in the opposite direction at the market. I'm going to click place order. I'm going to repeat that step. I'm going to click on the contract name there. It's going to open in the opposite direction, so it closes me out. I definitely recommend you always use your open positions window to close out these trades, because there's too much of a chance. If you say 118.40, if I come over here, I can find 118.40, but even taking the wrong side of the trade is a big risk, or clicking the wrong strike, and all of a sudden maybe I've doubled my risk. So let's say the market's moving against us, right? We're down $38, $40 right now. I'm going to click on my open position. It's going to open up for my full position size. I'm going to click place order. All right, so that was filled. I don't have any open positions. Always make sure that you have, make sure you don't have any open positions that you didn't intend to have open at the end of the day. Some people leave them on overnight, and nothing wrong with that. Have the limit orders set out there so you can lock in profit, but know what your plan is. But before we walk away, what we want to do, remember what I said, if you have no open positions, but your orders you have, right, unless you intend for these to be sitting there, simply click on that, click delete order, click on this one, and click delete order. And that's how you close your position. That's how you can set up limit orders, delete limit orders, and get out of your position. The quickest way to cut losses in the trade is basically, and let me go in and just place another trade here. The quickest way to do this is from my open positions window. Oh, you know what? And this is a great thing. I'm gonna show you something here. What you may want to do, if you're really short term, okay? I've got my ticket here, right? If you see this little button, it's called a tear-off ticket. So this is particularly helpful if I've got multiple screens, or if I have multiple orders on, right? And again, everything's a little bit slower going through the webinar podcast here. They typically come up a lot faster. what I'm going to do, hopefully you can see that. My screen's a little funky right now. All right. So I've got my ticket here. Okay. So you won't be able to see this, but I can move it to my other screen. I can get it out of the way. What you could do if you have multiple positions on, you could actually open up multiple tickets right there. And so if you're watching, and let's say I'm looking at this right now, I've got this position on, and I look back and I say, oh my gosh, you know what, I'm down, I need to get out. First I want to have it set to a market order, and then I'm just going to click place order. And that's the quickest way to get out, is to have that ticket up there and ready to go. Make sure it's in the opposite direction, that you didn't accidentally click on anything, and then I can just close out that order ticket. Awesome. I think I've covered all of the questions. Again, I put a link in the chat for the trading challenge. So if you haven't registered for that, definitely do if you'd like to participate. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to that. It's been way too long since we've done one, and we're going to be looking to do these on a pretty consistent basis moving forward, because I think it's a great way to get in. And one thing, as I mentioned early on, you can never learn to trade in a demo account. It's not possible. You can learn the mechanics, you can learn the basics, you can learn to avoid stupid mistakes until you actually experience the real emotion of having real money at risk. And that real money could be $10 or it could be $1,000, right? It depended on individual. But along with this demo trading challenge, I want people to take it seriously. I want them to trade, very much like they would if it was a live account. And what I mean by that is, working and understanding the risk of every trade, cutting those losses short, right? Not necessarily smothering market, but cutting losses short, and also getting, if you are seeing a profit, why not collect some of that profit? Why give it all back to the market? I mean, you don't have to take it if you're just up a tick or two, right? That's not going to cover exchange fees. But I've seen, I'll give an example. I've seen in the history in live accounts, people that would sit there and buy a binary option at 30, with the maximum payout of 100, and the market is sitting there where they could close out at 96. And I'm baffled why you wouldn't take 66, why you'd risk 4, or why you'd risk 66 to get another 4, right? And so there are a little different times. It all comes down to your trading plan. Yeah, I'll explain another question here. Difference between market order and the good till canceled order. So a market order is going to get me in. It's going to be the quickest execution that I can have. It's basically what's called a fill or kill. In a really fast-moving market, right? It can be hard if you had to sit here and click through these prices, right? This can be bouncing around so fast. It can be what I'll call hard to catch. In those scenarios, right now it's in the afternoon in the market. It's slowed down quite a bit here. But if I wanted to just get in, I want to get in at the market. Right now it's at 21.25. I have a protection zone. So if I place this market order right here, I have a range of 10 set on mine. So the worst fill I can get is 31, but I can get in at a little bit less advantageous of a price of this, but what I'm trying to go for is immediate execution. And if it moves too far too fast, then it's going to kill my order. It's not going to fill me. If it moves, say if it hops 10 points. So it does have a level of protection. That's why it's called a market order with protection. But basically, this is going to be my fastest execution. If I click market order, place order, I'm filled. In this case, I was filled right about the price. Now, some people will prefer to use what are called limit orders. So a limit order, right, this means, and this order is good until I cancel it. It could be filled right away. So if I place this order, and I'm willing to buy at 18.25, it just filled me. So I got filled at 18.25 on 2 contracts, right? So sometimes it can be an automatic fill, but what you're going to do is you're going to use the limit order Sometimes you can use it for an entry. That's great. But you can also work a price. So let's say you want to get into this trade, but your analysis is saying you think it's going to hit $16. You want to get in at $16, right? That's now going to become a working order. So this order will sit there. If the market never hits this level, meaning a buy price comes down, the offer price comes down to 16, it won't get filled. If it does, it will. But now you're giving a more advantageous price to somebody else. Now this order will sit there literally until you cancel it or until the options that it's based on expires, which is one reason why it's very important if you're walking away, at the end of your session, end of day, whatever, to make sure that you don't have any of these sitting out there that you didn't intend to, right? So a limit order means that whatever this price you put in this box, it has to be filled at that price or better. It can't be filled worse. A market order is really more if you're looking for that instant execution. In a fast market, there could be a couple of points of slippage, but it will be protected by that range, that protection range. In my case, and actually I believe the default is 10 points. Yeah, absolutely, Carmen. I'm going to give you some that you can go to right now. The question is, if you're newer to Nadex, where do you start, right? And again, on nadex.com, go to our learning page. There's different, there's like frequently asked questions. You can do, different things on technical analysis, a lot of quick links there. Something that might be helpful if you really want to get into it. You can also check out our blog. A lot of great information there. Things about general Nadex as well as trading. And then I think something that's going to be very helpful if you are newer to Nadex. And definitely take your time. I threw a lot of information at everybody today. And really one of the reasons why I wanted to break it down into 4 different segments this week. I mean, can you imagine if all of a sudden I started doing a deep dive into all of our contracts? I think I'd drive everybody nuts and nobody would retain anything. This was already a lot of information. So if you're feeling like, oh, geez, this is complicated, I'm not going to get it, work around in your demo. Get in there and start executing. It'll come to you pretty fast. But let's say you're interested in binary options, right? I've got one. This is the one coming up tomorrow. But if you go back to our archive, you're going to find a lot of information. Basics of binary options and knockouts. There's also market analysis that we do every week. I definitely encourage people to join those. Binary options. This is a 3-part series. So I'm trying to remember who did this one. So this was done internally. So you can go through and watch this 3-part series. I think each one is probably like 45 minutes to an hour. But it'll give you everything and more that you need to know. But go along with your demo, and you can practice executing. And I promise you, while it all seems kind of complicated at first, it'll come to you relatively quick. It's just a matter of getting in there and actually practicing and doing it. All right, I think I covered all the questions. If not, I will be looking at the questions later. If I didn't, I'll try to include them with the email. If there was one that I didn't answer, I'll try to include it with the email that goes out with a link to this recording. I really want to thank everybody. You've been great. The questions have been awesome. Again, I'm looking forward to everybody competing in this challenge. I'm going to be with you all next week, hosting some webinars. We've got a lot of great content every morning, by the way. Be looking for those links because we're going to be doing a live 15-minute market analysis hosted by Todd Rich of Nadex along with Brian Caprice. Brian's a very experienced trader, does a lot of webinars for us. You can catch a lot of his webinars in our archive section. And so that's going to be every morning. So if you're interested in what's going on in the markets, maybe you're looking for an indication what markets are moving, definitely catch that. You'll see that. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. Hope everybody has a great day, and look forward to, well, I guess I can't say seeing a lot of familiar faces tomorrow, but seeing a lot of the same names. Great questions, and I look forward to more tomorrow. You know what, Carmen, you should be getting a link very soon for time in the morning. I think it's 8 a.m. Central. They're going to be doing these, but I'll try to verify that and get that, and everybody will have that information. Oh, yes, actually, Don, yeah, you can have a live account at the same time you have your demo. They're not linked, so you just need to go in and open up your live account. So if you go to the website, let me scroll up to the top. If you just go up to open an account, it's a pretty quick form to fill out. You can set that out, fund it whenever it's convenient for you. And oh, by the way, if you do have an active live account, your binary demo, right? So if you're in there and you fund it and you're trading your live account, you'll have that binary. You'll have your Nadex demo account basically extended permanently for your lifetime. So something to keep in mind there, because a lot of times people want to open up their live account at the same time and even fund it, because as they're sitting there and they're trading in the demo, they're getting the hang of it, and all of a sudden they see an opportunity in the demo and they go, okay, this is going to be my first live trade, and then the live trade is there to log in, and it's good to go. So that's not a recommendation by any means. That's just an FYI on what some people do that they found helpful. So interesting, Lisa. So and I'll cover the collateral, how the contracts are collateralized in more of the things this week. But they're not actually margined at all. So with Nadex, you actually get what we call effective leverage, meaning you can have a pretty high notional value, or you can get a lot of movement for a very low cost. But it's basically whatever your risk is on any given trade. So when I traded that binary option for $25, I put up $25 to secure that trade. The seller on the other side puts up $75. If we match a trade at 50 and it's a total of $100, buyer puts up 50, seller puts up 50. And yes, $250 to open your Nadex account. This has been fantastic. This is a great group. I do have to run, but I'm so thrilled with all the interaction, with the great questions. Not to insult any of the other groups that I've had, this year, but or even over the last 20 years, but this has been one of the greatest groups. Awesome questions, and I think the questions are great for everybody, right? That's why we like to do these in a live setting rather than one-on-one, because somebody will ask a question that I might not think to cover, or somebody else might not think to ask, but because somebody asks, then the whole group can benefit. So I want to thank you all for your awesome participation. I look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow. Have a great day.